everyone. Thank you for joining our free training series on OpManager solution. And I believe you all can hear my voice well and see the presentation slide. Please comment in the webinar chat panel so that we can get started. Waiting for a few confirmation. That's great. I received your confirmation from our participant. It seems like the voice and presentation are clear enough. So my name is Selvaraj, and I will be the presenter for today's session. And to give you a background, I have around 10 plus years of experience in IT industry, and I've been with ManageEngine for past 7 years. So with this profile, let me go ahead and talk about the schedule that we had for this training series. So in this series 1, we started with discovery and classification. So more or less, if you have already joined our previous sessions or the previous part that we have taken, you might have seen how we have classified various topics so that one can understand how the tool works and how effectively you can monitor your IT infrastructure. So we segregated into 4 different parts. And today is the last part, which is fault management and ID automation. So we started with discovery and classification and showed you how one can discover devices to be monitored in the OpManager solution. Likewise, in week 2, we discussed on what are all the different various performance metrics that one can monitor for server and virtual infrastructure. Similarly, we also talked about the Nutanix monitoring, which was recently introduced in the OpManager solution. We also saw different type of performance metric for server monitor itself, not only the CPU disk memory, but how one can monitor file, folder, Windows service, port monitoring, etc. Likewise, we had third part, which is dedicated for network performance monitoring, such as your router, switch, firewall, etc. And we also discussed on various type of maps that we have in order for you to visualize your IT infrastructure in a holistic view. Similarly, in today's agenda, we are going to see how one can proactively monitor your infrastructure, various types of alarms and notifications that our tool has. Similarly, it is mandatory to monitor your infrastructure all the time. There are some scenarios when one can miss the alert. So how alarm escalation rule can help you to stop further escalation from the user end. Similarly, what are other features that OpManager solutions have in order for you to monitor your infrastructure or network infrastructure. And few workflows that one can make use effectively in order to monitor the network or server or virtual environment. So before we begin, I would like to let you know, guys, that our panelists are there to answer your questions that you have. So feel free to type in the webinar chat panel so that our panelists can answer your questions. So moving to today's topic, we have dedicated this for fault management and how the automation part can help you to reduce your time in viewing or in troubleshooting the network infrastructure. So of course, the word proactive is very much important. Am I correct? Because we, as an IT administrator, we should not be reactive towards any alert that we have received. So obviously the managers or the top management will ask you the sole reason that the administrator are hired to proactively monitor the IT infrastructure. So how tools like OpManager can help you out in proactively monitoring your IT infrastructure, and we are going to see how this can be done through our OpManager solution. So when it comes to notification, obviously there are certain organization or company standard that everyone follows. Similarly, it depends on company to company, or it varies from company to company, even it varies from department to department. So for that sole reason, we have an option where you can set the threshold and get notified immediately when an alarm is raised. Similarly, there are certain scenarios where certain business critical or core devices need to be associated with certain performance metrics which are different from other devices. For example, you may have Windows 2016 server, you may have Windows 2012 server. So certain 2016 server itself may be some business critical server. So for that, you can set your own, or you can set per device threshold for those servers, and remaining Windows 2016 server, you can associate them in bulk. There are 3 levels of thresholds in OpManager solutions for you to proactively monitor. Because in let's say you are just getting a critical and just clear alert. So sometimes if you miss critical alert, then it's gonna affect your day-to-day work activity. So by the various options that we have, we would like to maintain the mean time to repair and show that to the respective upper management through the SLA. So in OpManager solution, there are options where you can set threshold for individual metrics. For instance, CPU, disk, memory. Similarly, there are options where for individual attribute itself, you can set the polling interval, which means how frequently one should collect the data for that particular attribute or metrics. And one should be able to configure the threshold value or alarm message based upon the respective team's need. Likewise, there are scenarios where customer would like to associate the threshold value in bulk. For that sole reason, we have an option in OpManager where you can set the threshold for multiple devices using device template. So that's going to help you out in associating in bulk. Similarly, that's going to reduce your time in configuring the threshold value for the devices that you have discovered in OpManager solutions. So similarly, you can also fetch a complete report on configured threshold value from threshold details of device report as well. So that option is available. So in case if you want to view that, you can also pull that report. Now, let me switch to the product UI and show you the various options that we have. So let me take you to the product UI. So here it is. So this is our inventory tab where you are able to see the devices, interface, the business views that you have created and groups that you have created in the UI. Similarly, when I click on the device tab, there is an option where it shows a filter through category or type or vendor. You can select it, and based on that, you can choose the device that you want. Likewise, there are few color-coded information under status. We are showing it. So those represents what is the current status of that particular device. So I'm going to take you to one of the device. Let me take this one, OPM W12, which is a Windows 2012 monitor. This is our summary page wherein you can see the availability, the packet loss information in this particular screen. Now, the last tab that we have is the monitor tab. Let me click on it. So in this particular section, it's going to show you various attributes or attributes that one can monitor in the Windows server. You might be wondering, is this the one which listed is monitored in OpManager solution? No, there are options where you can select the required metrics that one needs to monitor. Likewise, you might be seeing not enabled. The reason being is not all performance metrics needs to be monitored, right? So we have an option where one can pick and choose the attribute that an administrator wants to monitor. So that feasibility we have given in our solution. Now, for instance, let's take CPU utilization here, and I'm going to click on the edit button that we have on the right hand side. So when I click on the edit button, it's going to show us a screen where it is going to give us the respective information, like what is that particular monitor name, what is the polling interval. So if you want to reduce or increase the polling interval for certain metrics, you can do it. And you can store the data, what type of data type that you want, whether it's an integer or decimal. And of course, we have 3 layers, which is attention, trouble, critical. So critical is the most important one. So starting with attention, trouble, and then moving to critical will give you a holistic view of how that particular device or health status is. So and then the last option is the rearm option, which means to clear the alert once it cross the safe zone. Now here you might be wondering, what is this consecutive poll time? So consecutive time is the one to check if that particular monitor or device is actually down. It is used to reduce the false alert in one's environment. The reason being is, if you take a CPU utilization, there might be some spike. You might know that during this time the CPU utilization is going to spike high, or during a random time the CPU utilization is going to high. So you want to cross check if that particular attribute or the monitor is actually critical or trouble or attention based on the consecutive time. So for instance, let's say here the polling interval is 15 minutes and you have set the consecutive poll time as 2, which means after 30 minutes it is going to alert and change the status of the monitor. That's the meaning of consecutive poll count. So during the first poll, that is first 15 minutes, it's going to check if the CPU utilization is critical, and again it's going to recheck in the next 15 minutes that it is still in critical state, and then it will alert the user. So that's the benefit of using consecutive time here in OpManager solution. Now this is for individual attribute. Now assume that you have CPU, let's take the basic one, CPU, disk, and memory, right? 3 attributes, and you have hundreds of servers. So 3 into 100, it's going to be 300 monitors, and 300 times you need to edit and update. So that's gonna eat up your time. Am I correct? So in that case, we have device template which will help you out in reducing the time. So let me show you that. For this, let me click on the settings tab on the top. That's going to take me to the various configuration that we have. So I'm going to show you about the device template under configuration. So let me click on it. So this is going to show us various templates that we have in our solution. So close to 10,000 templates are available for administrator to pick and choose and update what attributes that they want to monitor. And it's going to be very easy, and in bulk you're going to apply to the respective devices. So for example, let me take the first device template, which is Windows 2008 R2, and I can edit and update. So let me just click on it. It's going to take us to the page where it is going to show us the device template name, the vendor, what category it is, and it is going to show us the associated monitors. So associated monitors are the one which is actually enabled for that particular Windows 2008 server. But in case if you want to enable monitoring and apply the threshold value, you can click on the edit threshold, and that's going to take us to the page where it is going to show us various attributes that we have. So let me scroll towards the right. So various attributes, and likewise there are 4 types of severity: attention, trouble, critical, and then rearm. Rearm is just to clear the notification. So we can provide the value and we can just click on OK. So that is going to apply and save it in this particular template. Not only that, if I scroll down, I have an option to save and associate and save. The difference between these two is, if I save this and if you add or discover Windows 2008 R2 in future, this template is going to apply. But when I click on save and associate, there are options where you can able to override the existing threshold value for the Windows 2008 servers that I've already discovered. So that feature is available, and the show dial chart, which is shown here, is the dial graph that we show in the monitor overview tab. So if you want to enable that, you can do it. Otherwise, you can disable. And if you want to add any additional metric, there is a button called Add. We need to click on it, and it's going to show us various performance metric depending on the protocol that we use. So if it is a WMI based, we can click on it and it's going to show us the WMI based related attributes or monitors. We can pick and choose what we want to monitor. And once this is done and saved, your template is ready. And if a new device is discovered in future, it's going to automatically get applied. So easy task, one-time configuration, and it's easy. But yes, of course, as I said, sometimes for certain critical application, we do need to set it manually. There are some exceptions, so we can do that as well, right? So with this, let me go back to the presentation, and I'm going to discuss about alarms. Yes, alarms is yet another important aspect in any monitoring solution, right? So you set a threshold, and based on the threshold value, it's going to generate the alarm if it breaches the threshold value. So alarm is one place where one needs to monitor periodically, right? And in OpManager solution, we have an option where you can proactively view the alerts that are getting generated. And similarly, there are various options that we have in the alarms tab itself, where you can drill down to the device itself where the issues occur. Similarly, I'm going to talk about few critical severities, or the how we mark those device based on the severity. So as per the image that you can see, the attention is in yellow, trouble is in orange, red is in critical, and service down is in purple. And rearm is just clear alert. So these are predefined color codes that we have in our monitoring solutions. Now, when it comes to alarm, what else we can do? That's the big question, right? So in OpManager solution, we have an option where you can annotate an alarm, you can clear, you can acknowledge, and even you can delete. So generally, when you create a role in OpManager solution as an administrator, you have all these features available. So let me take you to the product UI. And of course, in the beginning, I showed you that under inventory tab, we show what is the current status of that particular device, right? Whether it's unmanaged or service down, or it's critical or trouble, etc. But in alarms tab, let me click on it. It's going to show us, let me just expand. There is an arrow mark towards right in the middle. So that's on the left side. So I'm going to expand the alarms tab. So it's going to show us the various categories of alarms that has been generated. Let me click on the sub tab active alarms, and it's going to show us the complete list of alarms that has been generated. So it's like number 34. And on the right hand side, this is going to show all the critical alerts depending on the recent time. All right, so that's the reorder here. So if you want to drill down to the issue, for instance, if I click on this one of the alert, it's going to take us and show us the alerts that has been generated for that particular device. And there is an option where you can add a notes directly in the alert itself. For instance, this has been resolved, or this has been taken care, or this being is worked on, etc. So any note that you want to add, you can add it, so that the other administrator can able to see, okay, this has been worked on, and stop unnecessary escalation or email exchange, right? So another options that we have is the acknowledge or unacknowledge option, where once you acknowledge, which means that you know that this alert has been generated for that device and you need to work on. So likewise, you have an option where you can delete the alert. If it is an unnecessary alert, you can delete it. So there are options, but generally, people will not delete an alert. They like to use notes, or they would like to clear the alert. So that's option we have. So let me go back to the alarms tab here. And if I select this, there is an option where I can execute a workflow manually. I can unmanage. You can clear the alert. So there are options where you can do it. So there is a green, there is a black tick mark on the top. So you can select alarms depending on the devices, and you can just click on this tick mark, which will clear those alarm, right? So those options are available under the alarms tab. And of course, we do have dashboards where you can put it in a big screen and watch this alarm generated on periodically, and depending on the department or floor or the data centers, you can create your own dashboards. That's another way, right? So with this, I'm going to talk about another important topic that we have is the alarm escalation rule, right? So yes, of course, we may do some mistakes by unnoticing certain alarms, or prioritizing some other alarms and missing the business critical alarms. So alarm escalation rule will help the administrator to escalate this to next level. It is not only for escalating, you can also use this as a reminding alarm. You can send it to yourself, and if it is not cleared within such and such time, you can escalate this to your next level. So the alarm escalation rule will trigger an alert depending on the settings that you have made. So for instance, if CPU utilization of a server is important and it has to be kept under control, and if you have not noticed it, obviously there will be a lot of business impact, right? If the application is slow, or if the device itself is slow, it will not allow other services or application to run smoothly. So in that case, if you miss that, you need a secondary alert. So alarm escalation rule can be act as a secondary alert, or you can really escalate this to your next level team, so that that particular device has been taken care in priority. Now let me show you where that option is. For this, let me jump back to the product, and I'm going to click on the settings tab. And if I click on the alarm escalation rule under configuration, I can see that option. So there are various alarm rules that you can create. So if I click on add rule, let me show you what options that we have. So we have the alarm rule name, severity, whether you want what type of severity, critical or just attention or trouble, we can choose it. You can choose the category, and we have an option here, not cleared within so much of hours or minutes. So this is an important category. So if an alert, if you have an SLA that if one alarm is generated in OpManager solution, you need to clear that within 2 hours or 3 hours. You can set that value here, and based on this, you can run this particular alarm escalation for every 5 minutes or 10 minutes or so and so. So likewise, this is one type of alarm rules that we can see, right, that we have. There is one is based on threshold profile. We can set the value, and based on the alarm that are getting generated, we can manually go and check in the tool, logging to the tool and verify. But there are other options as well. The one other important option that we have is the SNMP trap. So from any of the SNMP enabled device, OpManager solution. So once we get the information in OpManager solution, we will process that trap in a meaningful information and show it to the user. And depending on what trap that you have received, there are options where you can alert the end user. There are two. There is an additional trap that we receive is unsolicited trap, which means if the traps which are forwarded to OpManager doesn't have any proper set of rule that one should listen to the incoming trap, we categorize them into unsolicited trap. Right. Similarly, under the SNMP trap process, we have various options, or I would say various features that we have in order for you to create a proper trap processor. So let me just take you to the product UI. So let me take you to the product UI, and I'm going to show you where that option is. So let me click on the settings tab, and under settings, monitoring, under monitoring, we have SNMP trap process. So let me click on the SNMP trap processes. So there are a few default SNMP trap processes that we have. So if you want to create your own SNMP trap processor, we just need to click on add. Similarly, if you have the MIBs provided by the vendor, there is an option where you can load the MIB file from OpManager solution, and you can load it here directly in the tool. So with that, let me click on the add, and it's going to show us what type of SNMP version is SNMP v1 or SNMP v2 or v3. So here we have the name, description, what generic type it is, so you can select that. And we have an option where you can, the resource or the generation source, we can display the name of the device that has been generated. So based on that, one can identify, okay, from this device the SNMP trap has generated, and if it is generated, what you want to do. For example, you want to create add a wherebind, you can do it. And what rearm category, match the criteria, and what rearm in the sense like you want to clear that particular alert, you can also set that. So there are options where you can first you can choose whether whether it's first wherebind, whether it contains this value, and you can add the rule moving forward. So that options are available. Multiple rules can also be added. For example, first wherebind contains critical, right? Click on the plus symbol and this will get added. Similarly, I can add second wherebind contains error or fail, some string, I can add it. So multiple entry I can do. I can choose whether it's an AND or OR operation, and what criteria that I want to fill in. So whether it's equal or rearm. Rearm is the sense like clear, like on or clear, etc. We can provide that. So based on that, we can save and associate that. So once the conditions that you have given is matched, we show the trap in OpManager solution. Now let's take a simple scenario. Okay, for that, let me go back to the presentation where there are a lot of traps that has been forwarded to the OpManager solution. So there are options where you can customize the trap. Similarly, you can customize the trap message, and more importantly, how one can convert an unsolicited trap into a trap processor, right? So I talked about unsolicited, which means if there are no proper rule created, it's going to fall under unsolicited trap. Now in OpManager solution, we have an option where you can directly convert the unsolicited trap into trap. Here, it's going to list us the various traps that has been generated and categorized under unsolicited trap. And we have an option under action whether you want to create this trap which we received as a trap, meaningful trap processor. We can directly create from here. So when I click on the create trap processor, I have an option where I can make this unsolicited as a actual listening trap processor and convert into a meaningful information. I can do that. So that feature is available in OpManager solution, wherein you can reduce your configuration time, right? So not only this, let me go back to the presentation. Another important feature that we have is Syslog. So in OpManager solution, we have an option where you can send Syslog to the OpManager tool, like SNMP trap processor. We also read the syslog, and from the syslog we have an option where you can pull out some meaningful information. So that option we have provided, and of course there are few default ports which is mandatory. So we in OpManager solution listen to 514 and 519, which is a UDP port, and based on the syslog rule that you have created, we filter the data and show you in the OpManager solution. More importantly, it will give you some meaningful information if it is a very business critical, or you want to, even though if it is not critical, but you want to understand, okay, this has been triggered in this particular network device. Through syslog you can monitor. Now let me take you to the product UI and show you where that option is. So let me click on the settings tab, and under settings, monitoring section, we have syslog rules. So if I click on the syslog rule, it's going to show us predefined a certain set of rules that we have created, and I can add a syslog rule based upon the requirement, and I can choose the severity, whether it's going to be a critical or trouble or attention. I can create that. More importantly, you can even match certain text content and alert the end user. So that facility is available. Not only we act as a listener to syslog, but also we have an option where you can forward the syslog to any other syslog listener device. So we have that option as well in our manager solution. Now we have a tool called as syslog viewer. Let me click on it. So any incoming syslog we will be able to show you here, and what is the source, what is the severity, what is the message, we show it here in the syslog viewer solution or tool, I would say. So yes, so these feature will help you out in identifying alerts or alarms depending on what you have set. So for performance metric, we have the threshold value. For certain key important metrics or error codes or any other message that you want to pass, we have SNMP trap and syslog for you. Now if you see the link, what we have done is we have created the threshold value, we have associated it, you are getting alarm. Under alarm section, you are able to see the various alarms that are getting generated, and you can do certain actions, like you can clear the alert, you can acknowledge the alert, etc. Now you also have an option where you can listen to trap and syslog. Now all this put together, you are able to get a lot of alarms generated from these different sources, that is threshold, trap, and syslog. Right now, this is in the tool that you want to see the value in the alarms tab, you want to view it in the dashboard. That is fine, but what if you're not in front of the computer? Now for that scenario, the important, or I would say most important feature that one should have in any monitoring solution is the notification. Am I correct? So OpManager provides you various type of notification profiles or various type of notification itself that we have in our tool. I'm going to talk about few important tools, but it's not restricted. You can use various notifications that we have. Now, when I talk about the first and foremost is the email notification. This is generic one, where you can set up a mail server, and depending on the mail server, one can trigger the email notification for any alarms that has been generated. Am I correct? So you get an email, even in your mobile phone you can see it. And by the way, let me inform you that we also have a mobile app where you can download and periodically monitor your infrastructure. So apart from that, yes, email notification, you can see it in your mobile, you can see it in your tablet, that's fine. And all together you can put it in the team chat so that one can take care of that particular notification. The next important notification profile is the SMS. So we do have an option where you can set an SMS gateway, because I believe nowadays physical modem is not utilized more, but most of our customer uses gateway services. So based on the gateway service, one can notify to the end user through an SMS. And I'm going to talk about certain key points here. Now, before that, let me take you to the product UI and show you where that options are, right? So under settings, again, under general settings, the first and foremost is the mail server setting. Now, here you have an option where you can configure the server name, or you can provide the port that has been configured, the username and password, that's fine. The important point here is, in case if you have a secondary mail server, please do enable that, because not all the time the exchange will be up, right? So there are scenarios where exchange server may go down. So you should, if you have a secondary email server, please do enable that. So that option is available. So when you select that checkbox, you have an option to enter the secondary mail server. Likewise, let me click on the SMS server settings. So I do have an option where I can provide the SMS gateway, and depending on the gateway request or the request type, I can enter information that has been mentioned here, and SNMP. If you have a peer-to-peer SMS server configured in your environment, you can make use of that as well. So once these are configured, your notification profile is set, right? And under notification profile, this is to configure the exchange and SMS server. The next aspect is to send those alert to the end user, right? For that, under notification, we have notification profile. So let me click on it. So here under notification profile, I can create multiple notification profile based upon the requirement. So I'm going to show you some important aspects here. So let me click on add, and here we are going to show you the various options that we have, ranging from email, SMS to web alarm or track profile. So those options are available. So we are going to talk about the email, or more or less it is same for SMS as well. So I'm going to click on next. So here you're going to give the email from and to address, what type of mail format that you want, whether plain text or HTML, and the subject. Now here are a few key points that I want to mention. The first is the various replaceable tags that you see with $sign. So it is important to customize the subject as well as message. Now, if you get a generic alarm without any meaningful information, you will not know from which device that alert has came. Am I correct? So it is important to have the display name, or if you want to have, let's say, device type or IP address in the subject. So it will help you out in identifying, okay, which IP it is through the subject itself. Or if you want to create a meaningful information in the message body, you can select the message variables through the drop down and choose. For example, let's say severity of the alarm. So if it is already there, it's going to show you an alert. So that's how flexibility or user-friendly our tool is. So if you want to display some other value, let's say RAM in MB, I can provide, and it's on the left-hand side. So this is going to give you additional information. So please make use of the replaceable tags that we have in our tool to make an alarm into a meaningful information. So once this is done, let's click on next, and it's going to show us various criteria. This is an important place where most of us may get confused or need more time to understand. So let's take, you created a threshold value, and based on the threshold value, you need to get an alarm. So it is enough to choose threshold rule is violated. So if CPU utilization is high, you need to get that alarm. And I have an option. If I scroll down to the bottom, I have an option where I can notify if the severity is critical, trouble, attention, or service down, and even I can notify if the alarm is clear. So through that option. Now, apart from that, there are various other criteria, as you can see. Now, for example, if there are any hardware problem, I can select the option here, which says hardware in problematic condition. Or let's say if any of the service is down, or any of the Windows service is down, very business critical services. For example, you have an application and you are running an SQL server, and you configure that based on instance. So you need to run the SQL browser service in the Windows machine. So if that is the case, you need to have the SQL browser service running all the time. So you can choose that particular service alone to be as a criteria to this notification profile. And what else we have? Let's see by clicking on next button. So here there are options where you can filter the device based on the business view or groups, or you can select the available device manually and put it on the right hand side. You can select and put it on the right hand side. When I click on next, there is an option where you can select this profile for all time, 24/7, or you can apply this threshold during specific time interval. So this profile will be only applicable during a specific time interval, and you need to select the time frame. So let's assume you want to monitor 24/7, and how you want to trigger that. Do you want to delay the alarm notification? Do you want to repeatedly trigger the alarm notification? Those options are available. You can choose based upon your need, and let me click on next. So it's going to show us the summary, what information that we have provided, and we need to provide the notification name. And then once we click on save, this profile is ready to serve you, which means the device that we have selected, if the threshold breaches out, you're going to get an alert. Right? Now with this, let me jump back to my presentation. So let's say, guys, you want to have a personalized demo on the OpManager solutions. Feel free to type in the webinar chat panel. So that we can customize the demo for you guys, or even we provide a free POC where you can let us know your convenient time, and based on the mutual convenient time we can schedule the demo or the POC. All right. So with this, I'm going to jump into yet another important topic, which is integration. Right. See. I would suggest, as an administrator, I would suggest you to have a multiple notification profile, right? Email is one, SMS is one, and in case if you have, let's say, Service Desk Plus or any help desk tool like ServiceNow, there is an option where you can integrate that with OpManager solution. So we have various integration solution like Service Desk Plus, Alarms One. Even you can integrate with Slack, ServiceNow, and ManageEngine Analytics Plus. Yes. So I'm going to take you to the product UI and show you where that option is. So under settings, we have an option where you can set the integration part. All right. So we're going to show you the third-party integration ops section. So where you can either integrate ManageEngine, Service Desk Plus, or ServiceNow. So once the integration is completed, like you need to provide the DNS name or technician key here, so that we can send the ticket to the Service Desk Plus. So that option we need to first configure, and after that, once it is done, you can very well create the notification profile. So let me again click on notification profile, and click on add and choose log a ticket. So here I have an option called as log a ticket, and you need to provide the value here. So these value will be available in the help desk tool, and you just need to provide the value. And once the alarm is raised, it will raise a ticket in the Service Desk Plus or help desk tool that you have. So currently we support ManageEngine, Service Desk Plus, and ServiceNow in OpManager solution. Now these are various ways with which you can notify the end user, right? Email, SMS, log a ticket. Apart from that, we do have other options like web alarm is there, chat option is there in the tool, so you can make use of these features in order for you to proactively monitor your IT infrastructure. Now coming to the automation part that we have, that's the workflow. So workflow is a feature which will help you to automate the IT infrastructure, and depending on the alarm that are getting generated, you can create your own workflow. So it's very simple. You just need to drag and drop the various conditions that you have and create a meaningful information. and just initiate the workflow. So with this, let me just take you to the product UI and show you where that option is. So here in the picture, as you can see, the device is placed on maintenance, and if the maintenance is done, you can add a note in the alarm, and if the maintenance is going on, you can execute the Windows script. For example, it needs to reboot the system, you can do that, and then once it is done, you can exit the maintenance and send a notification. It's a simple, right? Likewise, we can take various examples. For instance, there is a tab called as workflow. So let me click on it. So we have various types of workflows, or if you have created it, it's going to list it here. And I'm going to click on a new workflow. So this is going to take us to a page where we can create our own workflow. So let me just walk you through various conditions that we have. For example, devices, whether you want to add a time delay to check if the device is completely started, lookup, ping, reboot a system, shutdown. Likewise, we have Windows services like restart, resume, start, and stop. We have processes that, in case if you want to do certain workflow based on individual process, you can do that. And of course, as I said, it's drag and drop. So if you want to, drag and drop, and let's say, for example, you want to delete an older file, you can just, pull the device name or the drive name here. You just need to add the device name, and that's it. Now, for instance, I'm going to give you an example. Let's take you have an application and you are the server administrator or the network infrastructure team, and you know that the SQL Server writes a lot of logs, transaction logs. If you have a full transaction log on, it's going to write a lot of log file in that particular drive. Now let's assume that you want to clear certain older files directly in the disk where it is written or saved. So using the workflow, you have an option where you can trigger the deletion of those older files automatically through the workflow module. So that feature is also available. Similarly, under alarms tab, if you see, if I click on any of the random alarm, there is an option called as workflow. So I can execute it from here itself, right? So we can add the task. I can add a workflow to the alarm itself. So those options are available. And now let me go back to the presentation, and this is our last topic, and the next we are going to discuss about certain interesting questions that we have got through you guys, and we're going to discuss, we're going to pick up top 10 questions and we're going to discuss about that. Now as a whole, if you club all these 4 sessions, we have given you the complete introduction of OpManager. Not only introduction of OpManager, what are all the various key areas that OpManager covers, how one should effectively monitor the infrastructure through various options that we have. So if you guys missed the previous topics, no need to worry, it's already uploaded in our OpManager Tech Videos YouTube channel, or we will be sending out certain videos link to you guys once the webinar is complete, and you can have a look at it. So now with this, I'm going to pause the screen and share or transfer this session to one of my colleague Venkatesh, who's going to talk about certain interesting questions that we have got. So thank you guys. So let me just put a pause for a few seconds.
Thank you, Selva. It was a wonderful presentation. Hello, everyone. My name is Venkat. I'm from ManageEngine OpManager support. So I'm one of the panelists for today's webinar session. So we have received few interesting questions for today, and let's discuss that. Okay. I want to get notified based on the traps. Should I get any additional licensing for trap-based monitoring? No, generally not. The trap-based monitoring comes within OpManager, so there's no additional license that has to be procured for that. So just need to forward the traps to OpManager server to the port 162, and you'll have to configure the respective notification, the SNMP trap profiles in OpManager. Let me just quickly show you where you have to configure that. You can go to settings, monitoring, SNMP trap processor. So here you will have to create the respective trap processor, and you can choose the warbinds. So once this is created, so when the trap is forwarded, it will be mapped to the trap processor and the respective alarms will be raised. How does the smart upgrade work in Enterprise Edition? Today we have got few questions regarding how to upgrade the Enterprise Editions. So, and this is one of the hot questions we have. So, OpManager Enterprise Edition, like it works based on the smart upgrade. So once the central is down, it should be down, and the probe should be in the running state. So once the central is applied with the respective patch, all the probes will automatically be pushed and it will be moved to the respective build, the centrals build within a short time. How to take a report for the multiple business hours. You can configure the multiple business hours in OpManager. Let me just show you how to do that. So let me take you to the UI and go to the reports, OpManager, business hour rules, and I can choose the add rule. So you can create the rule name and you can set the Monday timing hours. So each and every day you can configure the business hour rule and you can save it. So based on this rule, you can configure, you can fetch the reports for each and every time period for every day. Can OpManager notify us if the Windows server was rebooted? Yes, OpManager can notify when the Windows service or server is rebooted. So whenever the server is rebooted, the event will be generated in the respective servers. So we can create a Windows event log monitor for the respective device that is being managed in OpManager. And once that Windows event is raised, automatically OpManager will check the event and the respective reboot alarm will also be generated. Does OpManager support high availability? Yes, OpManager supports the high availability, which is known as the failover configuration. So in order to do that, some prerequisites are required. You'll have to configure a primary OpManager server and a secondary OpManager, that is a standby server. And the current database that is supported for the high availability is MS SQL. How is storage monitoring licensed? Storage monitoring license is completely based on disks actually. So each and every disk consume one license. So one disk, if one disk is added in OpManager, one license will be automatically consumed. Can I disable the notification profile? Yes, we can disable the notification profile. Say for example, if the user is on a planned leave, is planning for a vacation, or is planning for a leave, he can disable the personal notification profile to avoid the OpManager alarms, the alerts. He can go to settings. Let me just quickly show you that. You can go to the settings, notifications. So here's the notification profile, the global profile, where you can view all the profiles created. You just have to disable the status here. You can just click on that status. You can just disable it. So after doing that, the profile will be an unmanaged state, and further notifications will not be triggered. So which he can manually manage it again. Moving on to the question. I have purchased Enterprise Edition license. So how many probes can I install? Enterprise Edition license, for example, if the user has purchased around 5,000 devices, so he can configure maximum of 1,000 devices in each probe. So 5,000 devices, he can configure 5 probes. So in case if you have any the queries like how to more queries on how to get the enterprise license and how to set up the split and how to configure the enterprise setup, you can just drop us an email to ManageEngine support. You can just drop us an email. So we will be helpful in configuring this setup for you. And here are some of the references. You can just visit our OpManager Tech Videos channel to get more updates on OpManager latest videos and the webinar recordings. And we do have the latest help document, help.opmanager.com. You can just visit it, how to configure OpManager, how to queries. And we do have ManageEngine forums where you can post your queries and our ManageEngine experts will be able to give you the answers. And for any support with OpManager, you can drop us an email to opmanager-support@manageengine.com, and you can just give a call us to the below given numbers. We do have organized certification programs for OpManager. So please use the below link to get registered for this program, and you can just take up a test. You'll be getting a certificate for OpManager. ManageEngine User Conference 2020. So this is being conducted in Dubai on Feb 24 and 25, and in London on March 2nd and 3rd. So here is the link below. So please use the below link to register for the user conference. So thank you one and all for joining today's webinar series. I hope the training and the Q&A was helpful for you. So see you in the next webinar series. Okay. Cheers.